And hello. Trying something different. I'm trying to, if you've been following my channel, I have been trying to get more active on my YouTube channel, and I'm trying to be more active in posting things in eBay. So far, I will say the eBay thing is working. I've spent a good chunk of the weekend posting items, and I think I sold 3 or 4 of the items that I listed. One of them I sold after 20 minutes online. So maybe I could have gotten more money for that one. But anyway, I decided to find time where I can find it. And one of the things I have is in the middle of the day, I do have a full-time job. I work from home, but I do have time to take a break. And so I'm going to do a lunch break live listing. And, I've seen a couple people do this in the past. Not sure the best way to do it. So, bear with me because I'm not sure, what I'm going to do on my phone versus what I'm going to do online. But I'm going to do, I got a box of these newspapers, a massive box, hundreds of newspapers in it, and picked up really cheap because even the person that gave them to me, sold them to me, didn't even know what all was in there. I think I may have to go back and offer her more money because there's some really good stuff in there. Listed a couple things already, and this was one that I thought was interesting, so I figured I would go ahead and do a little bit of research on this. So it is the Stars and Stripes magazine. This is from December 1945. So this is after the war ended, but Stars and Stripes was still publishing. And I found one of these I had was the headline was Peace. It was for the end of the war in, let's see, that was VJ Day. So the headline is just massive, the word peace. And then I had another one that says Germany quits. That one I actually found online, and I need to still post it. But that one I found online and had sold for, I can't remember exactly, but it was almost $100. The peace one I think I've listed for 45 or 55. I can't remember. I couldn't find an exact one. So this one is not specific to the headline, but there's some cool stuff in here. So I thought this would be a fun one to do. So this is the December 1945 issue. So the cover image is actually from the Rose Bowl. So I normally do my research and kind of get things started on the phone, but instead I am going to see if I can share my screen and do the research while you're watching. So let's see, what does this look like? I am going to follow on my phone just so I can see what my screen looks like. So if I am looking down, I apologize. Okay, my screen is showing. So I think you can see what I am doing. So I'm just in eBay. For those of you who are not resellers, this is what eBay behind the scene looks like. So these are items that I have already listed. So I can edit them. I can do whatever. So in order to do a new listing, I can do a Stars and Stripes newspaper 1945. So I'll start specific and then work my way down. One of the things I like to do anytime I'm looking to see what activity looks like is on the left-hand side is you can specify sold comps. This is one of the biggest things when people find out what I do. They say, hey, will you help me sell this? Will you help me do, sell off my parents' stuff, whatever. And I'll tell them what things are worth. And they'll say, wait, no, I saw it listed on eBay and it's way more than that. It's like, yeah, listing is not selling. So it's one of those cases that you've got to be kind of careful what you're actually looking at. So doing this, there are 60 results, and there's a couple things that I'll look for. Sometimes I'll do this research and decide not to list it because at the end of the day, I feel like there's either too many things listed already, so it's just going to get lost in the ether, or it doesn't have a large enough value to justify listing. So I will put it aside, sell it at my booth, sell it at a live sale. So in this particular case, there are a couple of examples. So this one is, the other thing I'll sometimes do is sort by highest price first. So what's getting the biggest amounts. So 18 issues of 1945 sold for $150. 29 issues sold for $120. There's the one that says Hitler is dead was $100. So I don't think I have Hitler dead. I think I have Germany quit. So maybe it's not quite as much. That's why the peace one, I think I listed at 45. Another one, so an individual issue, but this one talking about the dropping of the atom bomb. I think I have that issue because I actually read it. It was kind of interesting to read a newspaper article that came out basically the day after it happened, because they didn't have 24-hour news cycles. They didn't have a way of getting a lot of information. So there was a lot of guessing going on. So it was actually kind of interesting. 20 issues for $51. There's the Germany Quit. So that one sold for 43. So I do need to list that one at some point. Let's see. Caesar the Dachau, Victory. So this is a lot of 5 issues for $30. Now what this is, none of these are the magazine. So these are all the individual headlines. Now, I'm not 100% sure where the magazine fits into this because it does have a specific date. It says Sunday, December 9th. So it's not, I don't know if that was maybe the Sunday edition had this like in addition to the Stars and Stripes, or maybe this was the one that was issued instead of the Stars and Stripes, the regular magazine. But I think what's going to help sell this, if I stop sharing, what I think is going to help sell this is the artwork. So there's the image on the front, but then on the inside, you've got a pinup image. So, you know, as long as I take good photographs of it, that will show up. There's some great illustrations in here, and this is illustrations from the trial at Nuremberg. So again, where we are, where the war has already ended. So I think those are really interesting. And then there's just a lot of, you know, at the risk of sounding misogynistic, this was for a predominantly male military. There are a lot of pictures of women. And then there's this on the house, some images on the back about a party, it looks like, of some sort. So I think some of these photographs will help. But in looking at what is available, I am not, let me switch back to the screen so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm not seeing any, first of all, I'm not seeing any of the issue that I have that have actually sold. So that's always a nice start because there is a way of doing listings. Again, if you're not a reseller, you may not be aware of it. There is a way to say, I want to sell something that has already sold. All right, I'm not seeing that. I'm going to do a quick change to this and change it to magazine since that's technically what I have. So one Stars and Stripes magazine from July 15th, 1945. Okay, so it does say magazine at the top. So this is, it has sold for $20 when it's in green, shows that it's sold. You know, there's other things that have sold for only 57 cents. I tend not to do auctions. One reason, this is a pretty good example. They did an auction, got 4 bids and only went up to 57 cents. I'm sure they were a little disappointed in that. So I will just sell it at a list price. If I ever get my eBay store active enough that it has a lot of activity, you know, then maybe I could do auctions again. But I would say I will use this as probably the best example of what I have. It's listed for $20 and it's a Stars and Stripes magazine, still from the same year. This is, let's see, July. The war would have been over in Germany, but not yet over in Japan. So this is still an active issue. All right, so we're going to keep that in mind. So then the other thing I will do with this new search, I'll get rid of the sold items, go back to what's listed. So there are 10 issues listed, and I'm going to look for the one that I'm selling. And right now, my cover image is fairly specific because it's got the Rose Bowl on it, Rose Parade on it. No, there are none of what I'm selling. So that's a good sign. Again, if I did this research and found that there are 20 copies of this same issue available, my store's not big enough. I'm not active enough in eBay to rise above all the noise and have anyone even find my copy. So I tend not to waste my time. And I have so much inventory I need to list. I need to list it with something that makes sense. So I'm going to go into this. I'm going to use this one as an example. There's a link right here that says sell one like this. So when you do that, what opens up is the listing. I'm not going to be able to show you. I will have to take pictures. I will not show you any of that. So the listing will not go live when I'm done here, but it'll be ready for me to just push up the pictures. It goes ahead and it includes the title that was listed in the listing that I grabbed. And so a lot of times, obviously, this one I'm going to have to change because I have a different issue. It picks the category. Now, sometimes this is good, sometimes this is bad. Usually, if something sells, particularly if it sells for good money, the person has gone in and done a little bit of research to determine the best place to list it. And I would say newspapers under collectibles, militaria, World War II, 35 to 45, original period items, United States. That's a pretty good description of what I have to offer. What it also does, it assumes where I want to put it. These are my store categories. I don't have a newspaper or military category, so it's just going to go into ephemera other. If I continue listing these, I may create a category specifically for militaria because I literally have hundreds of these issues. I'm probably going to group a bunch of them together. If you remember where I showed it earlier, some of those lots of like 20 issues, 30 issues were selling for over $100. I could do that multiple times over. So like I said, I think I need to go back to that seller and the person who gave me those books, those newspapers, give her a little bit more money. So once you pick the category, the specifics come up. Now, one of the things that I'm trying to master in eBay, sometimes the category, if it's too general, the specifics almost say nothing. It'll just say country of origin, California Prop 65 warning, and like that's it. There's nothing else. This one's giving a little bit more place for details. Origin, United States, the conflict, World War II. It is an original. It is from the United States. The theme is militaria. So all of those got defaulted because of the listing that I picked from. Sometimes it's not in there, and I would have to go in and fill that in. So I'm lucky in this case. Then I have to fill in the condition. So it is used. Even though it's in really good condition, it's still technically a used newspaper. And then I have to write the description. So what I've just recently tried to work with an online ephemera, specialty ephemera listing, and I didn't get approved. And the person that runs it was very kind and said, okay, here's the deal. You are primarily an eBay seller, which is true. I said, well, I also sell on YouTube, but that's like, this is an online forum. So he was really looking at eBay. And he says, right now, most of your listings, the descriptions are really short. He said, I have a very educated, a very sophisticated clientele. We are looking for items that are fully cataloged, a lot of detail, a lot of biographical information, a lot of additional info. That's hard to do when you're on your phone. So that's the other thing I've started doing on my computer, which is why this idea came up that I could do this. So one of the things that I will do, and it is a little frustrating because I'm going to sell this for around $20. How much time do I want to put into researching this? I could research. All right, this is showing Naomi Riordan and Mildred Miller. All right, well, I could go ahead and give you their entire life histories and put this in there, but I'm only going to make $20 in the sale. I don't have a lot of time to do that. So I'm going to try and pick the things that are the most likely to be picked up in a search SEO, search engine optimization, or something that people might have as saved, something in their saved searches. Like I said, I listed something over the weekend. I sold it in 20 minutes. It was a souvenir log from the SS Manhattan for a 1940 Panama Canal cruise that went through Havana. I found other examples of that. It wasn't the exact ship. It wasn't the exact itinerary. It wasn't the exact year, but they were selling for 10, 15, $20. So I listed mine for 20 and sold it instantly. Well, that person must have had a search, a saved search that the minute I listed it, they found it and they liked the price, so they bought it. So I've got a vintage issue of the Stars and Stripes magazine, volume 1, number 28, Sunday, December 9th, 1945. Cover image, Rose Bowl, Naomi Riordan and Mildred Miller. Candidates for Rose Parade. Queen, right? Yeah, Queen. Showing signs of unity and peace. So even though from a picture, it's very obvious that they're holding these big signs as a unity and piece, SEO would not pick up a picture. So if somebody, for some reason, has a combination, unity, piece, whatever, hey, I'm going to include that. Inside or contents, page 2, angles on curves. Shouldn't that be angels? ANGLES. That's angle. Angel is ANGEL. Well, it says angles on curve, so I'm just typing it the way they have it. And so it is a pinup. So it's a pinup of the Miss Varga girl. All right, so that'll be a key search term. I know Varga girl is definitely something that people will be looking for. So glance to the right and you'll see Miss Varga sitting and standing. The Varga girl may be pretty as a picture, but Charlotte Hess would like to hang her. Looks like a frame up. Case of the suffering pinups defended by an expert on shapely matters. So Charlotte Hess, physical culture expert, assailed the Varga girl. So illustrations, article about Charlotte Hess, physical culture expert, speaking against the Varga girl. Okay, I don't need to go like super into it. The picture is probably going to be what will sell that. Let's see, page 3, Milan comes back. Image of the Milan Cathedral. So you got one photograph. So again, I'm going to take a picture of it, but SEO doesn't pick up the pictures, so I'm going to pick up the text. There is a comic strip. Is the ambulance here for the Italian prisoners returning from Russia? No, on the contrary, it is for the communists who are here to welcome them. Okay. It does show Soviet flags. So we're just going to say comic panel, Soviet flags, communism. Again, trying to catch the keywords. So then pages 4 and 5, which are the centerfold, are As the World Waits, sketches at Nuremberg, the American spelling by Ed V. Bell, Stars and Stripes, staff artist. They're pretty impressive. So hopefully that'll be enough to pick up some of the what do you call it? The captions are in handwriting. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read this. Dornitz, and so I'm assuming one of these men is DORNITZ or DOENITZ. So there might be some names in here that could pop up as good SEO, but I am not that knowledgeable on my Nuremberg trials. So I'm probably not going to go into that level of detail, but I'll definitely include the pictures. So on page 6 is Goering the Younger with photo. Page 7 is Veronica Lake, photo. Susanna Foster and Gail Robbins photos. So I can get rid of the photo. Veronica Lake. Did I spell it right? V-E-R. No, it's not K. It's S-C. Veronica Lake, L-A-K-E. Susanna, S-U-S-A-N-N-A Foster. and Gail, Robbins. All right, so we got that. And then page 8. Oops. Back cover. On the house. So it's by Ward Regan. So I don't know if this is an ongoing article. Like On the House might be the name of the series. Maybe this is in every magazine. I'll have to check. I have other magazines, but not here with me. Writing on a Rainbow are T.S. Don Harris of Cincinnati and a Lieutenant Friend. So these are all military photos. The best kind of wine is the free kind. A newly graduated GI wine expert tells something is grand. All right, so I'll just say On the House by Ward Regan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photos. All right, and then I always put a note in there about condition. See photos for details. This is the item you will receive. I always say that, even though 99% of the time it should be obvious, but because I personally have gotten involved where I've bought things or I've seen things where it's a stock photo. And so when what you actually get is not what you saw because it's just, some professional photo that was photoshopped or whatever. So I always say that this is what you're going to get. All pages present. No binding, no tears, and I'll always mention, because this is with a newspaper, although I bought the ones I got in this box are actually really, really good condition. Somebody took care of these, but there's still the original fold. Like, this was a newspaper, so there is still the original fold. So I will mention fold from original distribution. Not very noticeable. No other creasing. So for people that are looking for paper, I'm going to take pictures. I will take pictures of the corners, the edges, so people can see exactly, as much as I can. eBay, a year or so or two ago, increased the number of photos you can post. You can post up to 24 now. I don't really count when I'm taking the picture. I just take enough pictures that I feel does it justice. Sometimes I take way more than 24 and I have to edit it down. And other times I end up taking 12 because that's all I need to take. This one, I'll probably use the full 24 because there's a lot of really good loss. I mean, I'm going to show a little bit down here. There's a little bit of, wrinkling down here, but again, no paper loss, no tear. It's in really good shape. So that is what I'm going to do for the description. Now I have to go down to pricing. So I'm always going to do it as a buy it now. So the last example of a 1945 magazine sold for 20. They try and be helpful by saying these recommended prices. That's garbage. I'm sorry. Sometimes it's super, super high. Sometimes it's super, super low because it's taking a massive category. So like if you're in the postcard category, it's like, oh, the average is $2.99. It's like, yes, but my postcard is from 1887 and it has a rare stamp on it. So shut up. So I tend not to pay attention to this one. So what I'll do is the last one sold for 20. I'll always start a little bit above that because I do allow best offer. So I'll take it up to $24.95. This is a new thing. I've not started using this. I guess it's a way that you can do your accounting in-house, so you can actually put your costs in here. I don't know why I would want to do that, but maybe that's something I'll introduce. They have this thing for auto price reduction. I don't do that. I do monitor my postings after, if they've been dormant for a couple of months. If there's no activity on them, I will relist them. And sometimes I'll lower the price, and other times, you know what? No, this is the right price. I just have to find the right buyer. The other thing is, this is something that not all eBay sellers agree with, but to me, it is an absolute sanity thing. I'm not going to play around with somebody offering me $1 for this. So I will typically go into here and I will put in as my minimum offer about half price of what I've put in there. And even that, I've started like slowly increasing that, because I'll put something, I just listed something for $85 over the weekend. within a couple of hours, I got an offer for 45 because I think I put in there as a minimum was 40. And no, I particularly within an hour, I'm not going to take a half priced offer. I think my prices are good. So yes, it's maybe a little on the high side, but this one isn't available and this has some really nice artwork in it. So I think it's worth $24.95. I may end up selling this in an hour and think, oh, maybe I could have gotten $29.95. It's hard to really know. I got these for obviously a good price. I've mentioned it before. I don't need to be completely aggressive, and I do want to sell it. It doesn't do me any good keeping these things in my storage because it is in really good shape and I want it to stay in good shape. So the other thing that I'll do, and I don't do this on all of them, but I'll put in an auto accept amount. So if somebody, I will allow offers and it says right down there, $24.95 or best offer. If somebody were to offer me $21, it will automatically accept it. It doesn't have to wait for me to respond. It will actually say your offer has been accepted. Please pay now. But if somebody offers 15, I will get the email saying you've been offered 15, and then I get to decide, do I want to go ahead and accept 15 or do I want to counter offer and try and bring them closer to 20, which is what I did for the person that offered me 40. I didn't reject it out of hand. I just said, okay, I was willing to go down about 20%. So I took the price down to even more than that. I think I took it down to $65. So that was like 25%. And then they raised their price by $4. That we're done. Like that's not in fair. That's not a good faith negotiation. So if somebody were to offer me 12, I would come back and say, look, I'm willing to work with you, but I'm not taking it down to 12. But if they were to offer 20, it would actually automatically accept it. I used to schedule my listings. Now I just don't do them often enough that they're going live when they're done. So, and right now I'm not going to be able to finish this because I don't have the photographs yet. So it's going to be pausing anyway. So I don't need to schedule it. So standard, it's going to default to just whatever I pick. I will pick a US PS ground. So again, this defaults from the last listing. This is probably about, I have a 15 by 12. I do have a 15 by 12 photo mailer. I've lost my tape measure. So I'm going to have to measure this one again. I haven't sent one yet. I think this might fit in the 15 by 12. It might not, but I'll still put it as a 15 by 12. But it's not going to cost £1. There's a couple points where the prices change. 12 is being one of them. The photo mailer is relatively large, so it does have some weight to it by itself. This is probably like 2 ounces, but the mailer itself is going to be like 8 ounces. So I'll put 12 because I think the next point down, so you can see here, $12 is going to cost $8.85. If I put it to 10, it changes it to, it keeps it at $8.85. If I change it to 8, it keeps, I think that might, yeah, that's where it breaks down. So 8 is one of the cutoffs, 12, anything above 8, and then above 12. So if I do 13, it was $8.85. If I do 13, it bumps it up to, oh no, it keeps it at $8.85. So does it keep it that way all the way up to 15? Okay, so 8 is the threshold. But if I go to 1, I want to say that was showing more. So £1. It doesn't want to tell me what the cost is for £1. £1. Anyway, I don't get too hung up in this. I try and be honest, with about what it's going to cost. It might be, like I said, this could go all the way down to 8 ounces and it'll still be the same price. So I feel fair, charging for this. Something to keep in mind, a lot of people don't consider this, that this is $8.85. So say that's what the person is going to be charged. eBay takes their percentage out of this as well. So I do use pirate ship so I can save a little bit of money. If I didn't, I would lose money on shipping. And that's something you should keep in mind when you're working with sellers, depending on what they're doing. Shipping is shipping. We should be making a lot of profit on it. But it's got to be able to cover that cost. Like, so if I do right now, it's going to cost me probably about 15% is what eBay will take. So that's gonna be like $1.20 right out of this amount. And then in many cases, if it's listed long enough, I'll go ahead and promote it at 10%. So they're going to take another 88 cents off of this. If I lose 250 in the shipping, that's not fair to me. So I've had people say, well, you should use pirate ship and you shouldn't charge me as much. Like, look, if I'm taking a hit because of the way eBay takes their percentages, I don't feel eBay should take a percentage out of the shipping cost. But guess what? They're eBay. They can do whatever they want. So you have to take that into consideration. So, always educate as we go. Don't even do any other shipping addresses. This is a default. This is, tied to my account. And I may promote it eventually, but I'm not going to promote it now. These are the different options for promoting. I can choose a percentage. And then because I don't have the photos yet, I have to save this for later. So it will go into my saved area. This one, because it's large enough, I don't have folders for it. So I'm just going to have to keep it as a stack. I may have to come up with something. But you can see I do have custom SKUs for all the smaller items. I put them into folders. And this is how I pack everything. I save it all up. CO182 is in a folder. And when somebody buys it, I look to see what the custom SKU is. This one will just lay flat with the other one that I've listed until I've got too many and have to come up with a storage way. So that is my live listing, my lunch break live listing. Hi Pam. I was on the other screen, so I didn't see the comments. So anyway, that's something new. Well, I don't know if this is something I'm going to continue doing. Maybe it's interesting to you. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but it is something I'm trying to increase my eBay sales. So, and I'm also trying to improve my algorithm within YouTube. I disappeared from it for so long that the last couple of videos that I've posted have just been miserable. I put hours, literal like 8 hours into editing the last video that I put in for my Trusty's Vintage Deep Dive. It went live yesterday, so it's not even been 24 hours, but I think in the time it's been live, I believe it's had 40 views. I'm not doing this for the money, but I do want people to see what I've done. And I know it's because YouTube doesn't know what to do with me. They're like, oh, wait, there's suddenly this random video that popped up from this channel that hasn't had anything in, for over a year. So I just need to start putting content out, keeping it into the vintage world so that I don't mess up algorithms. I did a few videos last summer with my husband, the entomologist. So I did a bunch of weird videos about bugs. And I think that just confused. I had a lot of people unsubscribe during that time. So you know what? Keep it to vintage, keep it to my antiques. And, and maybe I'll do this a couple times a week. My goal is, and I just listened to a podcast about this for people with ADHD, that you're supposed to make your goals publicly known, because if you just make your goal to yourself and you don't make it, you can lie to yourself and just like cover it up. So I am saying my goal is I want to post at least one thing a day on eBay. That is an absolutely minor goal, but in the time that I've been doing it, there was once it was like almost midnight by the time I got it posted, but it was like motivation. I was going to do it. So I need to find the time to do it. I'm trying to kind of come up with the system. I need to do the things like this, where I do all the write-up and, have all the details and figure out the listing. But then I have a whole separate process where I have to make the photos, so then I got to take the photographs. So I've got to kind of keep these moving parts going forward. I think I did already list 2 items this morning. When I woke up, I took my shower, and when I got done, I was, taking pictures. So because what I had done is over the weekend, I got a bunch of the items ready to go. I basically did what I just did, got them all listed, had the folder already set aside. That's why you had numbers on some of those. And so all I had to do was take the pictures, took the pictures, and I posted it immediately. I don't have the luxury of like, oh, when's the best time to post? When it's done, it's done. So this will go into the stack to be photographed. I've got, maybe a handful of items over there that are ready to go as soon as I photograph them. So I just got to make sure I keep everything moving forward. And that is definitely helping my eBay algorithm already. Now, if I can figure out how to use that to help my YouTube algorithm, great. So watch for additional content. might be going live, might be having some videos going out. Thank you so much for agreeing to helping me share that, Pam. I really appreciate it. Hope you're doing better. Thanks for joining me. And if you've got suggestions, if you're a reseller, if you've got tricks that you know that maybe I didn't show, or things that I did incorrectly, or ways to do it faster, hey, I'm 100% on board with it. A lot of times I just do it through my phone, because then I can sit on, the TV can be running, and I can just be like, I've got a stack of folders next to my chair, and I just like do one at a time, and I'm trying to get them up. So it's harder to do those detailed listings on my phone. So that's, again, by doing that one, the online ephemera thing that I was rejected from, to really put it into my head, I need to do a better job about my descriptions. So maybe that's something I'll always have to do on my computer, but I can still do some of the other stuff. And again, sometimes I'll do the research and say, yeah, that's going to my shop. That's going into a live sale. That's going into there are a couple times like, okay, that's just going into a miscellaneous ephemera bag because it's worthless. I thought it was cool, but there was no value to it. So, you learn things as you go, and I have tons of inventory. And so I will be hopefully being able to do this and keep it going. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for putting your trust in Trusty Huckster, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye, everybody.